What is going on, guys? Let's talk about Daredevil, episode 3 and 4 of season 1. If it's the first time coming into this, we're going over the Daredevil series that was on Netflix, getting ready for the brand new season that will be coming out not too long from now. So let's get ready. Let's do the post credits. All right, guys, joined by Brandi and also Matt, one of the co-found members. He's enjoying that perk of being able to be on here and talk about some of the things that we get together and watch together. And we just last night we was able to knock out a couple of episodes, episode 3 and 4 of Daredevil season 1. Just like we always do. Like, what did y'all think? Just overall about the couple of episodes that we're able to watch back to back and all that. Go ahead, Brandi.
I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized. The stuff that you have me watching, you told me there was violence, but no. No, how I'm feeling with this stuff. I had to look away at one of the scenes, actually two of the scenes, actually both the ends of both of these episodes kind of icked me out, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I only watched like the first couple of episodes, like when this series was on Netflix, and I really didn't get into it because it wasn't part of the true MCU. It was just kind of a thing on the side, left by itself. I wish I would have probably just kept watching it and everything, even though because I like it so far. The brutality though is there. It's there right in your face kind of thing. But I do think that the brutality needs to be there with the kind of story that they're trying to tell. And maybe it'll make it kind of like Game of Thrones. You had a lot of bad people do bad things, but then you kind of got to cheer and fist pump whenever those bad people, got their comeuppance later on.
Yeah.
That was also another show that I asked, why did you make me watch this?
Girl, you enjoyed every minute of it, man. Yeah, you did. Over here acting like she didn't like Game of Thrones. We went back and watched Game of Thrones. Nah, she was every second wanted to watch 20 episodes a night if we could.
Because I want to get it out because he wanted me to watch it, so I wanted to get it done fast.
Stop with the excuses. Matt, first couple episodes, man, just a kind of general idea, like, if you enjoyed it, did you have to turn your face like Brandi did?
No, I didn't have to turn away, but it was definitely brutal at the end of each episode. And it's just refreshing to see, like, that kind of brutality, honestly. Because everything before is, the hit a dude will go 100 miles, but he doesn't get fucked up. You know what I mean?
My thing is
through a wall.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And my thing is when you're sitting back and you're watching something about like a superhero, the thing that makes it better to me is when you have a superhero that can be vulnerable like Daredevil, because he's not like super powered like Superman, like I said on one of the other episodes already. But like you have that, and then but you also have to like match that on the other side with the villain being just as like, evil as he is a hero, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they don't do that. Well, then it kind of cheapens or just doesn't feel as good whenever you're watching it. Because like when you watch it and you feel like, oh crap, like the bad guy is on the same kind of level as the good guy, just on the opposite side of the spectrum, you kind of get more out of it when it comes down to it, and it makes it more satisfying to me because it's like, oh well, it's not a guarantee. I mean, we know the main character is not going to die, right? I mean, you can't call it Daredevil and I have Daredevil. But while you're watching the episodes, you're like, oh, crap, bro. He's, this, and this is happening. But it's like, oh, man, like this bad guy is actually legit. He's not playing around. And we kind of got some of that because the first couple episodes, you really don't see Fisk at all, if any. And in these couple episodes, we got to like venture into the Fisk world. And I would say like I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that like he's a killer, when he needs to be. But he's also trying to like go out there and live a life. Like he's super respectful and like really cool to the female that he meets in this series so far. And it's like, damn, like this guy, like, he puts it on when he has to and he takes it off when he has to as well. And we'll talk about that, but let's dive a little deeper into the episodes that we watched. Episode 3 started off with two guys trying to bowl and getting in fisticuffs. One guy's we got a viciously broken arm in this scene. And one guy getting killed, getting shot pretty much in the face. And the guy just basically hanging out, waiting for the cops and like giving up and saying he wants to speak to a lawyer.
He wasn't shot in the face. He just smashed him with the bowling ball in the face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. There was a gun involved, but I think you're correct.
It got jammed. So that started off with him getting the gun from the guy, and then showing up at the bowling alley, and the guy saying, "Oh, these are top of the line. They don't jam," and then it ended up jamming.
All I know is that guy got beat in the face, whatever it was, whether it by
a
bullet
bowling
or
ball. It was a bowling ball. It was a straight up bowling ball.
That goes to prove next time somebody comes up and wants to play a friendly game of bowling, just let them join, man. Why you got to be a butthole about it? Like, whatever, man. He dismissed that guy, and then comes to find out he was there all the time to take his ass out. So, but yeah, then we go into, and this is something that Adelia had brought up in one of the past episodes, where she talks about like his Catholic kind of background playing a part. We get him kind of sitting next to it.
Priest.
He's Catholic priest or whatever.
It's a priest.
I actually agree with Adelia, especially after seeing this. I think the guy that's playing the priest is a pretty good actor. It seems like they have a little bit of chemistry there, and I thought that's actually is like kind of like a good thing, to have in the show, because it adds another dimension to the character.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Then we have this old school reporter that used to be like, I guess like a badass back in his day, where he would like uncover plots and everything else. And now he just kind of safe and everything else. He is older. We see him talking to a gentleman and doing his thing. I actually like this character as well. He gets introduced here, and I think he reminds me of Morgan Freeman's character in the movie Seven, because he's like this guy who was all about saving the world, but over time he kind of gets dragged down, and then he's kind of like, nah, man, screw all that. But did y'all like his character?
This is Ben, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. He was good enough. He wasn't.
Cool.
He wasn't killing nobody, so I enjoyed him very much.
Yeah, we jumped to a scene where we got Daredevil and his assistants and everything sitting at a table, actually with one of the leaders of the bad guys for a second.
Yep.
Getting some information and stuff like that. That's kind of a cool thing, I think, too, is like where you have your good guy. He doesn't understand like everybody that fits in where it is and stuff like that. And the puzzle pieces haven't been put together yet. And so he's having interactions with people that he is going to have to fight sooner rather than later, and all that good stuff. And I think I said this in the last one too. Like, I think that gentleman's a pretty cool kind of like a bad guy. He's kind of like this guy who's like straight up, wears his suit, wears his tie, wears his glasses, but like he's all about the business. And he doesn't let himself get carried away. There's not a huge amount of emotion. Now, when you're watching a show and you don't have a huge amount of emotions by a lot of characters, that could be bad. But like one character, like him being that way, isn't. I actually think that's kind of a cool addition. Then we move on. We got Daredevil and stuff possibly helping this killer guy out with the bowling ball, because that's one thing that's kind of added to these episodes as well, is the fact that they kind of turn into, in some cases, especially this episode, like a procedural. Like this would be perfect for old Ferris Muthana that might join us on some of these, because he's a big procedural. Basically, he's a fan of like procedurals, Metamucil, and a lot of other things that you would be considered to be
Werther's
like
originals.
Werther's originals. Like he's a big fan of those. So like, obviously this is a show that I think would cater to him a lot, because of the fact that like, if you love procedurals, plus you like a good story, continuous story, because one of the reasons why I think this series is talked about in a good thing is like, when you watch procedurals normally, like I don't care about them as much. Like I used to watch like some of them here and there, and I'm not saying they're bad, but like my thing was there usually wasn't like this big through line. Every now and then you would have connective tissues with like some of the characters and stuff, but it mainly didn't have none of that. It was basically like you watched that week about in that episode, and it was basically contained into its own little thing. And you didn't get like this huge narrative or character development from the main characters in a lot of ways, because it would just be like, oh, we caught this bad guy and then all the things. Well, in this show, it's a little bit different. It's got some of that procedural stuff mixed in with like a lot of character development. You get to know the backgrounds of the characters a little bit more and stuff like that. Do y'all enjoy that part of it?
Yeah, I do.
Heck yeah, most of us do. Man, y'all just agree on almost everything.
Yeah.
Except for Brandi over here. Except for Brandi not liking the brutality, which
no, I don't. I really don't. We're gonna have to watch a couples therapy with some romance in it.
With some romance in it, bro.
I'm sorry. Justin, I've been going with so much violence. Adelia, who's in the background, we might have to watch some Christmas movies to get me out of this, out of these images in my head.
All right, so we got this, like I said, basically a procedural. We see some court things that happen. I actually think the court scene in this one was really good. Like, to me, another thing that's cool about a show is when you can not just rely on, say, one thing. Like, you don't just rely on brutality. You can rely on the actual story that's being told. On top of that, you can rely on like good scenes that may not be like people beating each other up every second. Like you have these times where in this episode we got like I said, I thought a really cool court scene. It was probably actually my favorite scene of this episode 3, to be honest with you.
They got hired by Fisk's dude to represent that guy, and like I know Matt doesn't like taking like bad people, so and he can his partner doesn't understand that he can like kind of hear that they're not a good person, and so against this he takes this person, and at first he's like, I don't know, and he's like, we got a lot of zeros in here, like, so he ends up taking him, and then he knows that he's not like the best dude, so
yeah.
And then they have the courtroom scene, and there's not. I can't remember. Were they being paid? Like the jurors being paid off or something? I can't remember what it was, but somebody got dismissed. They ended up getting one of them dismissed, but I can't remember. It's been a few days since we watched this. This is why I film things faster, because I don't remember things 2 days later. I just remember the court scene where they got the juror dismissed, and he had to go and talk, and like the closing statements, and the way he presented it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, exactly. And we do we see Ben doing some things out there, doing some reporting, maybe getting involved in this a little bit more than he wanted to. And then we also see Daredevil actually attack the guy that he's defending, which is kind of a cool, funny thing.
Yeah.
Like they get in another fight, but Daredevil was trying to find out like who actually, like, basically he's trying to find out who actually hired him.
But that's after him getting. That's after he gets off, though, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So he's like, well, who was the one that hired your lawyers? And he's trying to get the name from him, because even though he's technically the lawyer, he doesn't really truly know who hired him either, like who the actual, big person behind the plot is. But like, this is one of those ends in another, it begins with brutality and ends with brutality.
It was a good fight scene. It was a good fight scene.
Good fight scene, but home dude's like, hey man, he gave up Fist's name, and he knows what's going to happen to him. He's trying to save people that he loves and family members, because like if it gets found out that he gave up the name, he's the one that did it. That's what Fist would do. And we still haven't met Fist at this point, but we know it's got to be serious, because my man just slams his head through like a rod.
Oh God, that was.
It impales himself.
No.
He calls him a coward. He said, "You should have just killed me, you coward."
Yeah, he tried. He wanted that guy to like, basically Daredevil to kill him, but Daredevil was not going to do that. So like, he just takes matters into his own hands.
Listen, just thinking about it is just giving me anxiety right now.
Yeah, he did him all stuff in, and then we actually right after that, I think is a cool thing for this particular episode itself, is like we don't just end on that. It doesn't just go to black and that's it and wait till next week. We actually, for the first time, we see Fisk, and he's at an art gallery staring at basically a blank wall because it's just like a painting that's not even really a painting because it's just all white.
Mm-hmm.
But him and I don't know what you would call her, but she's like one of the people that sells the paintings. And he's kind of interested in her. I guess you would call her curator. But she comes up. They have like a cool little interesting discussion about this basically blank painting called like the White Rabbit, or what she was calling the White Rabbit. And yeah, so we get some dialogue there, and we don't really see Fisk in his evil ways. We see him when he's just like, you know, being I guess you would say a normal person, like and he found her interesting. So, and that's where the episode ends on episode 3. So with this episode, y'all enjoyed the episode overall, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy to see when that dude impaled himself. It's just like, damn, like that's the upside instead of getting caught.
That was a 6.5 for me.
No, I'd give it like a 7.5 or an 8.
Listen, you can give it all you want. I'm not.
Oh, I'm giving it. I actually would normally, but I'm going up to a 8.5. No, just to piss off Ferris in case he watches this. I'm going to give it an 8.55.
No, you're not.
And I'm giving it the half. I'm giving it the 0.55 added to my score that normally would be for the brutality, because I actually like that kind of thing. So
then it's an 8.5 or a 9.
Hey, you heard me. All right,
you heard me.
We jump into episode 4, In the Blood, and it starts out way more calmer than the episode before it did. We get Daredevil. You know, obviously he's been getting in these fights and been getting hurt, and we got the night nurse. What I learned from our last post-credit,
actually hurt, and like not just like not hurt.
He was hurt in one of the other episodes, you know, like because they skipped the fight
scene. That episode when he did that and he fell, and then the next thing you know, he's just fine. No, now we see like is that the wound in the side?
Yep.
Was that the
Well, no, he's getting patched up on the shoulder. He was getting patched up on the shoulder.
Okay, so then in the beginning of this episode, it was the wound in the side, right?
No, it wasn't. He didn't have a wound in it. Well, he might have still be wounded in the side.
He was bleeding in one of the ones. He was in his suit, and you seen the blood come out.
Yeah, that's the episode. Remember where she finds him in the dumpster? Like she kind of said, well, the other guy, the person that lives in the building, found him in the dumpster, and then like him and her worked together to get him up there so she could patch him up. That's when he was stabbed in the side from those Russian mobsters.
Yeah, I thought it was one of these ones because he ran to the was this the one where he heard it was episode 3. He heard the watch. The guy's watch. The one that hired them. And he ran outside, and I swear he had the blood there too. I don't know. He threw his cane down.
Yeah, he was trying to follow him when he went to the car.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we do get to see the night nurse patching him up like I was talking about, and then we get to see some of the bad guys again here. And we got the brothers,
the Russian brothers
who escaped, you know, I guess like a Russian style prison or something at some point, and they were like, hell no, we're not going back to Moscow. We're going somewhere else. And it looks like they ended up in Hell's Kitchen. And then we have the assistant to Fisk talking to these guys, and you can tell these guys, they don't give a shit. They don't care. They're not scared of Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a cool touch, is that they're not scared of Fisk, because, you know, that means it's just an interesting thing to have on there. They're not just like, you know, kissing his boots or whatever. They're not afraid of him. Now there's going to be reasons through this episode why they should have been afraid, but it is what it is. Then we also have Daredevil's assistant meeting up with Ben. We got Ben in the last episode doing a couple of things, and now she's kind of like kicking him in the rear end here. Like, hey, you know, you used to be a real good, you know, reporter covering the big things, and now you're not. You know, now you're just doing safe stuff. But little does she know he's already kind of like, you know, working on a couple of things and all that. So that's another cool interaction so far in this show. There's not like a spot. There's a lot of shows out there that I like, but there's usually some characters or some plot points or something like that I'm not really digging or into. But so far in this show, going into episode 4, I actually don't like when different character shows up on the screen, like I don't like check out. I'm like I'm interested to see where they're going from there.
Yeah.
We got the brothers. Because the one guy that almost died trying to that's part of the brothers team.
That's the one that got pushed off the roof.
Yep. He's over here about to be dead. Just barely hanging in there. He's at the hospital. They show up. What I would guess would be basically like that stuff they throw in people's hearts,
like adrenaline.
Adrenaline, yeah.
So they push that into him. He wakes up and they're getting some information. And this is how they find out information about the night nurse, or at least the place that she lives. Like they don't know exactly what apartment she lives in, or exactly what the name is. They just know that she lives in this a certain apartment building. So they're going to do something with that later. And not very long from now, you start seeing people going through the apartments, and her neighbor that actually helped her save Daredevil in one of the other episodes gets found out, and they don't show it, but we know he gets beat up.
It's Santino.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Santino, the teenager that found him in the dumpster.
Yep. And then we go into Fisk again with his assistant again, because it was like, he's his right-hand man, obviously, so they're going to be together a lot. They're like talking. They really don't want to get into like a Russian war kind of thing, so that he's going to see what the brothers can do. He's not going to do anything to start anything at this point. But no, man, he gets out and he goes to see the lovely lady again that sells the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And I am thoroughly enjoying their dynamic. I'm thoroughly enjoying Fisk as a bad guy going up here and actually being like, it's a different feeling, like a lot of times villains are just made to be one way, one note, but this guy obviously, because there's a part in this that I really do love in this scene, and it's something that he says, because she says, basically he's like, hey, I'm trying to get you to go on a date kind of situation. She's kind of turning it down because she's like, I'm the only one here, so I can't leave or anything like that. And he's like, okay, maybe at another time or whatever. And he goes to walk away. And then she says something about, wait, you're not going to try to buy all the paintings here, so I won't have a reason to be here. One guy before, but I really thought that a very good line and a very good delivery was him saying, a woman that can be bought, it's not really worth, going for.
Yeah.
And it was just like, some people can be shocked because people, obviously, you're going to know he's like the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
For him to be like that is pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like he's living these two lives, the one life out on the street and the life that he's doing here. And it's just pretty interesting. I find it, really good, to be honest with you. I mean, do y'all enjoy that as much as I do, or y'all have a different take on that?
It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting thing. He's not, I like that line too when he said that about being bought and stuff is not worth basically his time to go to pursue.
Yeah, when he's around her, that's his time to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
shit. Other than that, he's a hard ass.
No, yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I really agree, because it puts a touch on there. Now, right after that, we get the night nurse being kidnapped because they do come. They're in her building, obviously, and then they were able to.
She was given she was given a phone, a burner phone.
Yep, by Daredevil.
By Daredevil when he was there before. So that comes into play now.
She does hear a noise and runs over, and it's just like an old lady going across the thing that she's trying to look. She kind of calms down, but then you can see in the background, she can't see it, but us as people watching the show see it. They're sneaking, they're coming out, the shadow coming through the window, and they attack her, get her. And while this is happening, Daredevil actually knows something's up. I think that I think it was a phone call on that burner phone.
Yeah, she tried to call and he was saying stuff to her, and he heard the yelling in the background, so that's what got him worried.
Yeah, so he focuses attention. He doesn't even go get his suit or anything. He just throws his cane away in the trash. So I hope he's got a bunch of those laying around. And then he runs up to her apartment building. He's there a little bit too late. and then he has to focus on like where she's at and everything else. Now, these people have already tried to trap him one time, so he's got to be careful with that kind of situation.
Well, he runs into Santino, and Santino tells him, and he doesn't know who they are, but he's beat up. The kid's beat up, but he remembers the cab. He remembers the name of the cat on the cab. That's how he finds them, because he remembers the name on the cab.
And then we go. Then we go to probably one of Brandi's favorite scenes of all time, because it involves people at a fancy Italian restaurant.
Like, where you
they're going to eat a little, maybe scampi. Maybe they're going to get a little fettuccine Alfredo or something, you know.
See, you know what I like.
Right. So we come into this scene where we got Fisk and his love interest, it seems, you know, having a good time, having a good conversation with a good meal and good wine, it seemed. But then we also go back to the night nurse. She's getting like taken already. She's now they get her to the place. They're trying to like basically torture her at this place in this garage kind of thing. And they beating the crap out of her. That's another thing. Like, I don't like it when, you know, you're supposed to be interrogating this person to get something and you're supposed to be the bad guy, and the person you have captured's got like maybe a bloody lip. Nah, man, she looks rough in here. She looks like, you know, they did a number on her.
Because they threw her in the trunk.
Oh, yeah. Well, they did more than that, obviously, because they go back to her. They
tied her up. They roughed her up, tied her up and put her in the trunk. Obviously, she was trying to get away, so they're going to try to do shit. But they keep her alive. That's the
exactly. But we got the lead guy gets frustrated at one point and almost like bashes her head in with a pipe, but he gets stopped because obviously it's like they said, no, leave her alive until she says something. They're speaking in Russian, so she really can't hear that, but she probably can guess at that or whatever. But then the lights go out.
And then Matt. She laughs.
Matt.
That laugh was
tell me what happens when the lights go out. Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the guy in the show.
No, I was like, Matt, tell me what happens when the lights go out, man.
Oh, yeah. And Daredevil comes in and kicks everyone's ass.
Yeah, that's a understatement, to be honest with you. He's over there like jumping around like a ninja, you know, beating everybody's ass and everything else. And this is one of those things, right? You have good bad guys. This dude shows up and does his thing. You get to fist pump. You get to be happy because like he's saving the day kind of deal. She's able to like at least get unrestrained while that's going on and everything else. She does a smart thing at the very beginning though and lay on the ground because these idiots are just shooting at everything out there. So you don't want to get hit by a spray ricochet.
While she's laying on the ground, she's getting her arms from behind her body and pulling them out and cutting the things off her wrist.
Duct tape. It was Alabama Chrome.
Listen, I was trying to remember the name of it. Okay, she cut it off. Whatever it was, she cut it. I know it was duct tape. But yeah, so, she was laying down while everybody was fighting, and she's like, "Hell yeah, I'm not gonna get up yet." I liked that.
Now in this episode, this is like one of my favorite parts, and
when she hit him with the pipe.
No. That was my favorite. Well, that could be cool too because like she does hit his ass. Like Daredevil gets down to the last guy, the leader guy, and he's got him kind of like held up, and she comes out of nowhere and blasts his ass, you know, right over the big green monster over there in Boston, just right over for a home run
with the pipe that he was going to hit her with. So,
so that, hey, good satisfying storytelling right there.
But she also did she find out at the beginning or at the end of this episode what his real name was?
I think towards the end.
Okay.
I think. But we do go back to the restaurant. This is one of my favorite scenes because this whole section right here, it's pretty damn kick-ass. I ain't gonna lie to you. So Fisk is still with his love interest down there at the fancy Italian restaurant. And then we got one of the brothers, the hot and heavy brother, the one that can't keep. You got one brother that's a little more calmer, and then you got one that's a little rash. And the one that's rash shows up in the middle of Fisk's dinner while he's having a date. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. That was not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Like, he comes marching in there And then you see people stand up because they're actually there. Some of the people eating that you wouldn't think was like just normally there eating is kind of actually part of his team. So when this dude comes in and he's kind of being a little loud, a couple of those guys stand up because they're like basically guards and people that are supported him. So she's like looking around the restaurant. She's like, what's going on? She notices, well, this dude, obviously some things are happening behind the scenes she doesn't really care about. He tells his assistant to put him in a car and meet him somewhere. And he goes and talks to her and drops her off. And obviously she's not too happy. And then at the very end, this is another thing that's kind of cool, right? So he's like super respectful about it. He's like, hey, tell me what you're feeling now. And if you don't want me to come back ever again, you won't ever see me ever again. I'm done. Yeah. I'll be gone. And she leaves the door open just a little bit because she's like, I just really don't know. And then she like walks away. And then we have the bad guy in the car being driven around. You know what I'm saying? And he's trying to be like, oh yeah, I had to go in, I had to find out, and all this good stuff. Like, well, bro, probably shouldn't have did that, man.
Yep.
There's a really cool conversation between him and the guy with the glasses that's Fist's right-hand man. I thought the conversation in the vehicle before like Fist shows up was like actually really cool. Did y'all think the same or no?
All right.
Yeah.
I just knew what was coming, and I don't like this. I don't like this. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of this.
I don't know if you can say you didn't like it. I know one particular part that we're almost to that basically ends the episode. I understand like you're not liking that part because it's pretty graphic, to be honest with you. But like the stuff leading up to that, I would say is kind of.
He said he embarrassed him, and he embarrassed him in front of his girl. Like,
oh yeah, no, Fist. So yeah, that's what was fitting to come up. That's what I was about to bring up. Is like, so Fist shows up out of nowhere. They're parked on, in a certain location that Fist had him to, and Fist just rips home dude out the vehicle, commences to beating his ass, and why it's almost like a mom or a dad like getting their kid, because he lets him know why he's getting his ass beat. He's like, listen. He's like, listen. You took your hand and put it in the cookie jar one too many times. Your mama getting a fly swatter after that butt. But nah, he's getting him, and he tells him, he says, hey, you embarrassed me in front of her. And that's why he's getting his ass beat. Like I said, it makes it interesting too, because at the beginning of the episode, he's like admitting he doesn't really want to have to get in some kind of war with the Russians or fight with the Russians or whatever. And he knows if he takes out these brothers, that's probably going to cause like an issue with that.
But now he doesn't care anymore.
Oh no, hell no, he doesn't care. You embarrassed him in front of his woman. All right, that's what it is. And he beats this guy's ass so bad, opens up the door, lays his body up against it with his head around the bottom of the door area, and he commits to slamming that damn thing over and over and over again until he ain't got no head no more.
So there's jelly rolling out the door.
And I love his assistant kind of standing on the back part of the vehicle when he's doing this, and he's just kind of like tightening up, and he's buttoning up his top button on his jacket and everything else, and just being super calm. And then when it's done and he hears the commotion over with, he steps over, starts talking to Fisk, and you can kind of understand why Fisk has him as a right-hand man, because he's not overly emotional. He's probably not going to make any mistakes, or at least too many mistakes, with that kind of mentality. And they talk. Fisk wipes some blood off his face, and it's like he jumps into that so clean, right? Like he goes into that crazy mode, and then you get to see like, oh shit, this guy's for real. And then he immediately, when it's done, he's like starts calming down. It's not that big of a deal. Let me slowly wipe, this stuff off my face here. And then he already starts making plans because he knows things are about to go down.
Yeah, I'm so glad they got Vincent D'Onofrio for this role, because his performances are so like understated that he can creep into like some crazy mode like that all quick. And he gets away with it because fucking most of the time he's like withholding.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I find his character very interesting, which makes me like the show even more because of the fact that One of the drawbacks sometimes, like I said, especially, and not even just MCU, sometimes even in the DC universe, is like the bad guys to me aren't very compelling. They don't have a lot of layers. They're just kind of boring almost. Oh, well, they're just there because they have to have a bad guy. They don't get a lot of like scenes sometimes. They don't get a fleshed out character or anything. And all that, like the only like one of the few, there was a couple of good bad guys, especially like in the MCU, like and stuff like that, but it wasn't a very common thing. It was like, oh shoot, like this movie ended up being a little bit better because the bad guy's better. I think the bad guy, like, it's one of those things to where like your opponent, right, makes it better. So like if you watch like a sporting event, Adelia covers a lot. That's going to be joining us on most of these. She covers like tennis, and like if you're watching a tennis match and you got somebody that's like super good going up against a jobber, you know what I'm saying? He goes out there, she goes out there and just blows them out of the water. It's not very entertaining. But then you get those moments where sometimes even out of nowhere, right? It doesn't have to be even a highly ranked opponent. Sometimes you'll be watching something like a tennis match and it's like, oh, this person's really good. And then out of nowhere, you get this one of the historic matches that you want to watch over and over and over again because, this other person, for whatever reason, like they coincide and have this great match, like out of nowhere sometimes. And that's cool to have, right? Like where you're like, oh shit, like it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it seems to be like, that's what this show's setting up. We don't get a lot of Daredevil versus Fist stuff yet. This is setting that up. It's only, episode 4 of season 1, but the road is going down. But I love the fact that they didn't spend all that time just with Daredevil. They spent some of that time now with Fisk, and we got these like just different things, like what's going through his head, how he's thinking. I just think it makes it very interesting. But let's go ahead. This final episode, give me a score and give me your final thoughts, either on either one of the 2 episodes we just watched, or on the episode or on the season so far, if you want to, before we get out of here.
Go, Matt.
Go, Matt.
I'll say I'll give this one an 8. And I don't know. I love how brutal the show could be, but then also it could be like soft too, kind of like, I mean, like when it's Foggy and the assistant going around town, you know what I mean? Trying to help her keep her mind off of shit. The show could stray from that to some dude getting his head bashed in a car.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's good because I think that's needed. You don't need heads being bashed in every, frame.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's good that we get to go with these other characters. And that's what I'm saying. That's the trick to the show so far is when they go to those other characters, I'm not over here boo-hooing because a head's not getting bashed in. I'm actually still intrigued by what's going on with that. Or even with that courtroom scene I thought was done very well. You get that, right? And it's a little bit different than just seeing a head get bashed in.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Brandi.
6.5. I'm not enjoying this stuff. I mean, some of the stuff I am, but it's a lot for me.
I mean, I wouldn't say a 6.5 is like terrible. It's just like you don't like some of the aspects of it. But I'll put it.
Yes, that's why I gave it a 6.5 because there's some things I like of the show, but the other stuff is I don't like gory things, and this is kind of gory for me. Like it's a lot to take. I know it's fake, but it's still.
And that's what I like about. Yeah, but that's what I like about it though. Is like I was saying, like in most comic movies and stuff, you'll see they'll throw a dude through a wall and whatever. He's just
don't even have a scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, like this shows you, like, man, when he breaks bones or when they crush heads and stuff, like that's what it's really gonna be like. It's not some cartoon version of it.
I will say this.
I like the cartoon version of it. Okay?
Right. There's a difference of having like gore and being gratuitous. I don't think this show's doing gratuity because like, yeah, you get to see like these little moments and stuff that is pretty gory. Like I'll admit, even as a person that loves horror movies, like there's some things I'm like, damn, Netflix really went hardcore with this couple of moments so far in the show. But at the same time, they could have did way more and above and beyond and made it even worse. But like I said, I think it's important to the story. So I'll relate it to this.
Smashing a guy's head until it's no more, that was gory. That was horrible.
Yeah, but
no.
I've seen movies where the camera was close up to that same scene and didn't actually just show up underneath the car.
I don't like that. You know this. When you made me watch Chainsaw Massacre at your mom's house, what did I do? I was in your arm. I don't like that gore, that, and then seeing that plop down, and then I was like, what did I just watch? Like, what did I just watch? No, I'm not okay with that. That's now you see what Brandi doesn't like. I do not like the gore. I know it's fake, and I know, but it could really happen, and it's just like, it's gory, and I don't like it. Like, I don't like not saying he likes the jelly. I was like, no, that was gross. That made my skin crawl.
That's that's perfectly fine, because like you can have that outlook, because everybody's going to be looking at some, like, there's other people out there that probably gave this show a chance and then saw a couple of those things and was like, nah, man, not for me. But what I was going to relate this to is, like, when you have a show like this, it's going to be like this kind of a story, even if you like it or not, right? Like, if you don't like it, that's fine. But the reason why I like it is because it reminds me of, like, me and you sitting back and watching, like you said earlier, like something romantic or even like a rom-com. Well, there's scenes in there that I don't really care for, the whole like cheesy ass lovey-dovey like thing here and there. That's kind of like, oh man, can we get this over with and get to something else? But hold on.
There's a difference of you going, oh, can we get this over with? I'm not sitting there going, oh, can we get this over with? No, I'm like, what the fuck did I just see? Like, what the fuck was that?
No, yeah, I get it. It's like the shock value or whatever. But my point being is like, I may be thinking that. Hold on, I may be thinking that and saying that at that instance, right? Like, come on, man, this is stupid. This is cheesy as hell. Whatever it is, right? And but then the movie or then the show gets to like the final moments of the movie or the final moments of the show, and I'm like, you know what? A tear almost dropped out of my eye, and part of that reason is because of that moment that I really wasn't into at the time. But once I see the entire show or once I see the entire movie, I look back at it and go, yeah, that was needed. Even though I didn't like it at the time or didn't care for it at the time, because that's not my favorite thing, and whatever, I go back and go, man, that's part of the reason why I got emotional, why I was like really into this romance, or I was really into this rom-com, even though at that moment I didn't care for it. It becomes something that I recognize is still good.
Listen, you can do the things you do without showing me fucking jelly flopping onto the floor and a guy. Like, there's ways of doing it. I liked the Penguin. They did things different. I didn't have to see all the blood and the gore and stuff. I don't like that. They could do that without showing me all of it. It still could be there, but done differently. Well, you feel me?
I understand completely, 100% what you're saying. But me and Matt over here, we enjoy the jelly.
Listen, you're boys. And I don't even know how Adelia went through all of this, but she can watch the Penguin after what I just saw with the 4 episodes of this show.
Yeah, but I hope episode 5 starts with some jelly.
Oh my God, no.
I'm rooting for it.
Yep, jelly donuts.
Yeah, I literally hope that jelly donuts.
I wish it was a donut. That was it. A donut.
Listen, I hope that episode 5 that we're going to watch here probably pretty soon, I hope episode 5 is called Jelly Donut. Nope, it's called World on Fire. Didn't get my wishes. Damn it. But there you go, guys. The post-credits. The post-credits. Now, like that's kind of the cool thing I think about this is because like people are watching sometimes something that maybe they don't watch and stuff like that. They're going to have their different opinions and everything else. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are like Brandi, right? That like didn't like that part. They might like every other part of the show, but then it gets to like some of those brutal scenes that are super brutal. And even though a lot of people watching it likes it, there's also a group of people that's not going to like it as much. So, me and Matt's over here giving 8s. Pretty much mine, I'm going to give this one because of the brutality. It's a normal score of 8. So the last 2 episodes, we're going to be baseline 8, 8.55 for the other one because of what happened in it. And this one gets an 8.7.
Oh,
8.7.
So they're 8.5s because they're below the half point. So 8.5. I ain't playing that, Justin.
Why are you siding with Ferris?
Because I don't play that game either.
Man, get out of here, bro. That's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? All right, Matt. Here we go. Jelly donut. That's what we're talking about right there. She yelling in the background. Y'all know how it is, guys. You don't take out the trash at the right moment or do the right thing, and then you'll be like in a different room, and then you hear like, look at her.
Thank you.
See? Get out of here. Like, trying to run. Look at she yelled. Yep, there you go, right there. Again, guys, sorry for the kids out there watching the post credits. I don't know why they would be watching this.
Why would it? Why if kids are watching this show? I have some issues.
Listen, until next time, bring on the jelly. Matt, what flavor of jelly donut do you like the best?
Probably raspberry.
I'm gonna be honest with you, that I don't like raspberry flavor in almost anything else, but when it comes to a jelly donut, for some reason, the raspberry.
I'm about to take myself out in this. Let's go.
Well, with that being said, let's get out of here, man, guys. Y'all have a good one, and until the next one, please like, subscribe, leave your comments down there below, and everything else. Tell us what you thought about the show whenever you watched it. Join the Ko-Fi and join the Discord, man. There's a description down there. You can join the Discord where we talk about this stuff, hang out with it, and watch this stuff together. And as we move along, and pretty interesting journey that we have. And with that being said, peace.
Peace.